Good morning, everybody. Tuesday, June 6th. Economic numbers today, 10 o'clock, ISM Non-Manufacturing Index. Looking around the world overnight, the equity markets in general are up pretty strongly. Europe up 2.5% or so across the board. The only real news is there's some Nokia news that's probably driving Finland. Asia's up 2% or so. Some big moves in Forex, Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar are strong against their trading partners. Looking at futures, seems to be a little bit of inflow of money into energies, so watch that today. Gold is coming off just a little bit. Looking at S&Ps. Okay, so I think levels to watch today. The first inflection point is this 1028, which is about where we are now. Above that, we're probably looking at 43 is the next stop, and then we have a lot of room above that. Below this, we're looking at probably 13.5, and then overnight, this is 24-hour overnight. We had good support at 1,004.
Okay. There definitely was a lot of chatter last night about how weak the futures were, obviously, especially from zero hedge once the market went to zero. But this is kind of a pretty strong reversal off of last night's. It showed this is around about 10 o'clock last night. We were down pushing that 1,000 mark. And now we're almost at 10:30. What I'm looking at is I'm looking at the SPYs, which are having a lot of trouble in the pre-market on Friday as well as during the day. Every time they got up to this 103.10 to 103.13 area, failed there several times, including right at the end of the day. There was a very powerful move right up to that level, and they put the kibosh on it on this heavy volume spike down in the last 10 minutes. Seemed like it was kind of a random level. Corresponded with around 130.30 in the cash S&P, and that's what you want to keep an eye on this morning. You can see that we actually took it out earlier this morning, came off a little bit, but very shallow to the 102.90, which also was support Friday in the morning, and now we've rallied strongly above it, and we're almost up to around 103.50. That to me was kind of my line in the sand. If on the open we take that out and we're holding above there, then that's when I'm looking for my upside. If you're watching SPYs, and if we take out that 102.90, that's when I'm looking for us to come down to that support from Friday's support, which takes us down to the 101.80 to 85 area. There's a lot of people looking at gold today. If we take a look at GLD. We know that was very in play last week. We started watching it when it had the hard down move from 123. And this move on Thursday when it took out the 120 was incredibly powerful, down to 117. There's a lot of focus on the 117 area now. What I would be doing is watching the top part of that range from Friday, which puts us up to around 118.5, I think I know. So right there, you can see that failed there a few more times. So this morning I'm basically watching the 118.50 to see if it pops up there and fails. That would be a nice entry point. You don't want to be looking just to get short in the failure of the 117. You want to actually be in a position of strength there. So you're much better off watching that 118.40 to 118.50, seeing what happens there. Corresponding, can we do a bigger picture on this? And again, and just like the people who are rooting for the market to go to zero, you had a lot of people rooting for gold to go to like 5,000. And it just, it's broken this uptrend right here. And so it's curious to see if this is going to lead to something real. Last time it was up in the last real big failure was over here back in the end of the year. Got up to 120, failed, came all the way back down to 104, 103, something like that. So this is what we're going to be watching. Watching this longer term trend. Probably good if it does start to come off some more below 117. I wouldn't be surprised if then the market started to show a little bit more strength and got up to some of the more recent resistance levels. All right, so as far as the stocks, people, Casey, I think you had GG on there?
Yeah, well, the levels in this aren't always the cleanest. I'm really just looking for sector weakness. So I just put in the low from Friday and the low from Thursday on the sheet, just kind of as levels to key off of. But really I'm going to look for some sort of technical setup or a hard down move in that and a flag to play section of the downside.
Okay, and I'm guessing you're going to be probably watching that 42 area as well?
Mm-hmm. Anything if I don't bounce, yeah.
Okay. The other golds, let's see, what else we were looking at. We got NEM was on there. I think Ali had that on there.
Yeah, just noticed a couple of levels. There's a resistance level of 59.38-ish, and the support of 58.36. This I just noticed in the, I believe, the last few days.
Okay, where did it try to rally above on Friday, Adam, several times? Let's see, 59.70-ish? Okay, so once, twice, three, four times. Fourth time actually got above there before they hammered it. So you want to watch that 59.70. And the lows from Thursday, where it kind of double bottomed a little bit, is 58-ish. All right, the next one we want to take a look at, we might as well take a look at FCX, which is playing the pre-market a little bit. It's been a good stock to us recently. What I'm looking at in FCX here is, I find it interesting that it is gapping above 60, so maybe this gap could be real. But what you want to see is, if it does fail at the 60, it comes down to around 59.60 to 65. That's where you're going to be able to tell if this is real. And just going back to, I'll give you an analogous setup. We had last Wednesday, we were looking at Baidu, and the idea was if it got over 70, that was our expectation, and it got into that level the prior day, got about 30-40 cents above there, but when it came down hard below 70, that's when it caught people leaning the wrong direction, and you had a nice downtrend for the next 2 to 3 points. It's the same type of situation to me in FCX. I don't know if it's as high a probability of play, but you're looking at people looking at the strength above 60 now. They're going to look for some support here at this failure area on Friday. If it does not support there and comes below, then all of a sudden these levels, this 57 comes back into play again. 57. It got below there, but it was very tough once it got below 57 on the short side on Thursday. And so that's kind of the mentality, keep getting people leaning the wrong way. Now, that doesn't mean to say the stock is above 60 right now. If it consolidates above 60 all morning, then you start to bring the 62 area into play, where this was taking us back to, I guess, early last week. All right, CLF was another commodities that was on the sheet. 48 is the major inflection point on that one. See that it came down there a couple of times earlier last week. Failed pretty miserably below there on Thursday. Came off about 3 points or so, gapping up above that level. So we want to see what it does at that 48. Can it continue to hold above there? If not, same thing as FCX. We want to see if it actually has the hard down move below 48. Starts holding below, I would say, 47.80. Then that brings this 46.40 to 46.30 area back into play. For fresh news, Phil had TCK on the sheet. I'm not sure what the fresh news on that was.
I just forgot to click the drop-down box. It wasn't fresh news. It was just second. I'll make sure to do that now.
That's why I didn't do it first. I wasn't sure there was fresh news. But go ahead. Talk about this one.
If you look at the daily on it, this one will follow Freeport McMoran a lot of times. I'm just looking at that gap and the range that it's been in. It's been in the range between 30.50. It can't hold a bid above 30.50 every time it gets there. You go on the on like a shorter term to see that range. Every time it goes like that 30.50, it fails up there, and then it kind of spiked down hard below that 29. But really couldn't hold below it. So that's what I'm looking at as support. Well, holding above 30.50, you could get a nice move to like 32.5.
Okay, it's not really showing much on the pre-market?
Nah, not much. It's up a little bit, but.
Okay. Let's take a look at BP, Adam. We got a bit pre-market action. Okay, BP gapping up. We've had plenty of gap ups and gap downs in BP. Caught my attention a little bit this morning, because the pattern has generally been in BP. It gaps up really early in the morning, and then they just drifted down. And by the time the market opens, it's already a point from its pre-market highs, and there are no good entry points. If you look at this morning's action, they did the same thing. They gapped it up again. It had the trouble. 31.50 has been a level I've been watching for a while.